Welcome back, guys. How are you? Excuse me. Today, let's just talk about the not the average bro. How about that? Okay. You know, in high school, we had, I think, people. We had a pretty good crew of people. I'll say in my high school. Okay. I call it the United Nations because we had Jamaica Hall over there where all the Jamaicans had their lockers. Spanish Hall, that area, the Spanish people kept their lockers. And it was pretty separate when it came to the locker issue because some people wanted to just be with their friends or the people who they grew up with or the people in their neighborhood, in their neighborhood, excuse me. But when we got together, like for a pep rally, whatever, I felt like it was more so everybody was for everyone. People really cared about, what was going on. We had, a lot of different clubs and, people enjoyed being in these different clubs. It was kind of awkward at times because, I wasn't in the in crowd or what have you, but I never forget, we had this, there was two guys who came from New York, okay? And they came late in the school year. And one of them, his name was Craig. Now, funny thing about Craig is you would never think that, people would really look at Craig as, he wasn't the average bro, okay? He had a birthmark on his face, okay? And nowadays, they say that some people call it different. I don't know if his was the pigmentation or what have you, but I believe it was a birthmark. So it was kind of, the color on his face was not totally brown. He had like white areas in his skin, and when you first met him, you might pay attention to that. But when you got to know who he was, you wouldn't even think about that. You didn't even see the skin. You didn't see any of that. All you saw was who he represented, okay? You know how you meet people, you're like, hey, yo, what's up? Not him. It's like he would say what's up or what have you, but his actions spoke louder than his words. When he entered the room, you knew it. And at first, the guys were like, oh, he ain't all that, whatever, But as he got along with everyone, with the guys, he was like, hey, yo, what's up? Boop. Give a little boop. And the girls, he was just like, how you doing, miss? You feeling all right? It was just like he had a certain je ne sais quoi, so to speak. He had a certain class. It was, when he entered the room, you knew it, okay? All right, I'll give you an example. I remember when the teacher was changing his seat, because he's very smart too. Make no mistake about it, very smart. And I believe it was Miss White's class, our Spanish teacher. And she was nobody's joke, nobody to play with, okay? I think she was changing his seat. And he went to sit in the front, and some girl dropped her pen or what have you. I don't know if it's Daisy, I don't know who it was, but somebody dropped their pen. He was all the way over here, and somehow he found his way on the opposite side of the room, and he just picked up the pen. He was just like, is this yours? It was just a way that he was just so cool. He was so cool about the way how he handled things. And if he was in a part of a group where there was gossiping going on, he'd separate himself. He wouldn't even be a part of it. And then if someone said something to him, he said, no, I don't get down like that. No, you guys, you can do that if you want to. I'm not a part of that. And he'd separate. He was just so mature. He was class within himself, He'd go and they were playing basketball. He'd play basketball. Some of the girls would just, of course we were already going somewhere, but no, let's just go see what Craig is doing. It was all about Craig because Craig made it all about himself. As I stated earlier, we're all different people. And with you being who you are separate from everyone else, separate from the rest. You are not like anyone else. And by him being who he was not trying to disguise or blend in. He was who he was. And he didn't change for anyone. So when people came and were like, yo, Craig, you want to be? He's like, yo, I don't get down like that. I don't want to be a part of that. And if he even heard, because, some people will say that guys gossip better than women. Craig was not for the gossip. They started their little stuff or they started talking. He said, like, yo, I'll catch up with you guys later. I'm like, yo, what's up, Greg? And he's like, every time somebody, that's how you know. He was showing you who he was. Every time someone got into certain contests or conduct, should I say, or certain type of conversation, he classified himself separately. He refused to be a part of all that. And, you know, he was like a demolition all by himself. He'd knock it all out just by being who he was. And this is what I'm trying to get down to. There is a selective few of people who you're going to meet in your life that you're going to see them as being who they are, separate from the rest. And that is a compliment. Craig was a compliment to our school. When we graduated, everybody was like, yo, where's Craig? Everybody wanted to be around Craig because you knew that if something was being said, you know it wasn't Craig. And when somebody tried to bring something up and say Craig, everyone knew automatically it wasn't him. And this is a funny thing. You think people know you. When people say, oh, I know that person. No, they don't know the person if they can assume that person can do certain things that you know that person's never doing. There's a group of people. And with this group of people, it's all coming down to the truth at this point in time. And with the truth, people listen to one individual and they found themselves caught up in something that now they can't handle, you know? They found themselves following this one person's words and they never validated by finding out the truth. I think I mentioned this before. I was in Atlanta taking the bus. And one thing I don't like doing is taking the bus, especially not out of Atlanta. For some reason, that train station is just, words cannot even express it. Now, maybe they updated. They said they were going to be changing it. Maybe it's better because it's a little larger or what have you. Certain train stations, you know, are going to be, you know, like the one in Dallas, the train station is different from the bus station. Let's just make that clear right there. But the bus station, this particular bus station, there was a girl there, and you could tell she was very angry. And she was making dog sounds. And I was just looking at her, and I realized that I don't know who put her up to whatever she was trying to do, because it was almost like she was not herself. And not that I knew the person, but you know when certain energies or certain entities are in the presence of someone. And that's how I felt. I really felt like she was going through something. And when she looked at me, I felt the energy, and I refused to be a part of it. I totally changed my attention somewhere else instead of prayer for her and moved on. You cannot help everyone by answering or solving their problems, because they're going to have their own problems. And while they're having these problems, you ought to say a prayer for them. Sometimes you might not want to say a prayer for them because you say, now that person deserves whatever they get, But you might have once been there. And if you were not once there, maybe one of your friends, maybe one of your relatives were once there. And you do not know all the answers. Only God knows all the answers. So if you say a silent prayer for that person, you're praying for them so that they can be freed of whatever it is that they're going through. Because we have no idea. You know, some of us, I mean, I can be called accountable for it myself when I say that a person, I might be in my position where I say, you know, I've never done this, never done that. And as I told you before, my mother said years ago, she said, you know, that never list is getting really long. And I'm going to tell you about that list. The older you get, the shorter that list becomes. And I've definitely seen that happen, you know. I've experienced it and I've watched it happen, you know. A friend of mine, I say associate, was giving a little party recently at the pizza shop. And I went. But I really went there because I wanted to make sure that it was getting late. And I knew that everything stopped running. And I knew that I needed to get to some place where I knew someone, because you never know, you know. So I went and I hung out with them for a couple of, you know, hours. Just, you know, it was a safe place, and it was an environment where I knew that the people would welcome me and they would be kind, you know. So I hung out with them for a little bit. Then, you know, the time came where, you know, I would be able to travel. But my friend wasn't sure exactly what was going on, so he came and checked in. He's like, yo, you good? What you doing? You planning on, you know, because we're getting ready to close up shop. What you doing? I said, oh, I'm out of here. I just wanted to make sure that, I checked in with you since you just got back from your vacation. And like I said, it was a safe space. So when I was, he let me out, I went ahead and got on on the train, and I went where I had to go. You have to know sometimes, that when you're tapping in, God is giving you those answers. We don't always know what the next move is, but he'll let you know, this environment, these friends, this situation, everything is not moving along the way that it should. Sometimes it's going to take you that moment to tap in and realize that now is the time that I need to move on. I need to separate from this group. This group is not so good for me. So I hung out with them for this period of time. I learned a lot, and now it's time to move on. As you get older, you put on your big boy or big girl pants, and you move on. You move on to better things, to bigger things. You gain perspective because these experiences are making you richer. And I don't always mean in the pocket. I mean richer in experience. With these experiences, you are growing and you are glowing up. And make no mistake about it, while you're glowing up, there's going to be some haters. There are going to be people who are going to say, oh, they think they're all that? No. I just know that I've gained principle. I've gained a certain consciousness. I've gained a certain knowing. So now that I know, I'm moving on. And it doesn't mean that I have to leave everyone behind, but there's going to be times when you're going to have to separate. And while you're separating, people will feel as though you left them behind. Make no mistake about it. But while you have left them, you're leaving because you need to gain a certain consciousness, a new perspective of who you are becoming. When you're doing this, again, people will have questions. They need to go within and gain questions within themselves, because you've got to do what you've got to do. We are all on this planet, or on others, because we don't know what's going on everywhere, not all of us anyway. God knows. While we're moving on, you can say a prayer for those individuals, and you might maybe connect with them during a gifted time or another. But right now, you are glowing up, growing up, moving in a different direction, getting closer to God in the sight situation now. No, let me stop. I like that rap song though. Either way, let us gain consciousness of who we are. Let Craig be that example. Again, Craig was one of the guys who went to the prom with, I think, more than one woman. And specifically, young lady, I'll say, because we were not really true women at that time. But I have to go back to Craig because of the person he was, the women felt strong, and they felt safe in an environment of his, okay? The peace that you were rendered in his presence. Let's just bring that up. When you don't feel safe in the environment of another individual, then your body's not going to be steady. Your energy will not be steady. Now, of course, we're trusting in God, but while we are still trusting in God, we're making good choices, right? Part of the making of a good choice is going around a person, not because, you're going to always gain something, but being in the presence of a person who is peaceful renders a whole different thing, okay? You knew that you were safe, okay, because Craig was not going to let anything happen to you. But you also knew that he wasn't going to be forceful either. He was never going to force you to do anything that you didn't want to do. Again, when I was around him, it was really more so our group. It was a few of us around him. There were a few times where I find myself solo with him, really more so in public transportation. Because again, people were gaining, the wonderful experience of being at my high school. A lot of people lived in New York. And, they still went to New York. Okay, we moved to New Jersey, but at the time, again, there were a great deal of people who were coming over because they wanted their parents wanted their children to have a better education. And this was the experience, that we were all enjoying. I'm not going to say it was a wonderful time, because there were times where high school was not so pleasant, where we felt challenged at times. But in life, this is going to happen. We're going to be challenged. We're going to feel certain times where we are not exactly as comfortable as we should be. And in life, this was a platform that's leading you to what it is that you're going to be experiencing later on in life, you know. Everything's not always going to be, what did my girlfriend say? Butterflies and cream puffs, okay? I was in trucking at the time, and this guy was talking to me, and she was like, oh boy, you know, here he goes again. Now, honestly, the conversation was a pleasant one, you know, and he was cute, but I wasn't ready for that. And I knew that I was moving in a different direction. But it was cute. His behavior was cute, and, you know, the experience was cute. And we were supposed to be, you know, going out that night, a few of us together. And, you know, I just knew that that wasn't going to happen for me, because I knew I needed my rest, because I needed to prepare for my driving experience the next morning. And I knew that I needed to go to a big company where I had to be impressionable. I needed to make sure that I had all my stats together, and I was going to be able to meet with the client in order for me to move forward and to gain more credibility for the company. So with me being the representative, I needed to make sure that I had the right amount of rest. But it was a cute experience while it was going on, you know. You know, each experience, again, is teaching us how to grow in different ways. And sometimes, again, we're going to be met with challenges. In these challenges, we might find ourselves, you know, wanting to run away. I'll be the first to tell you, there have been times where I say, oh no, I'm not ready for this. But if God is preparing you for it, you are ready for it. And you have to take that moment and, you know, go to a corner or a safe space, a private space, and say that prayer and ask God for guidance. We don't always know what tomorrow will bring, but we do know that with God with us, how can we fail? We cannot. So moving out of an environment to a new place can be scary. You know, I've moved from state to different states. I mean, we lived in Yonkers, and we moved from Yonkers to New Jersey. That was scary. But when we moved from the South Bronx, or where the Grand Concourse was, I don't know if we consider that, but when we moved from the Grand Concourse to Yonkers, that was scary too. And there were times where I felt, you know, I wanted to be around my old friends. I want to go around the old neighborhood. But that's where God was moving me. When he's moving you into another region, another area, the new doors opening. These doors are your doors, no one else's. And even if you're moving in with someone else, right now people are, you know, times are changing. Finances are changing. Work is changing. And with these different changes, you know, we're going to have to make our own decisions. While we're doing so, we have to reach out to God and ask for, you know, for some sort of help, some sort of direction. Our life has new meaning when we're able to tap in, when we're able to have that relationship. You know, I have a special relationship with God, and it's more so because I just talk to him like I'm talking to you right now sometimes, because it makes it easier for me. It's not always just praying, it's talking for me. And it's like I said, it's going to be different for each of us. But while these things are happening in different ways for us, we have to let our actions be sequestered in different ways. You know, God is directing us. So we're letting our direction come through God as well. And while we're replenishing, while we're resting, while we're allowing ourselves to be open to the direction that's being provided, let us please always end with thank you. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you so much for always trying to put your best foot forward, because I know that while you coming here, you are definitely trying to put your best foot forward. You know, we all make mistakes. Sometimes we do things that, you know, maybe we were in our head at the time. Sometimes our pride can play part in that as well. And we have to separate ourselves and really get into that mode where we're trying to replenish, being by a body of water maybe, you know, maybe sitting in the sun, you know. Whatever the case, know that you are blessed while you're trying to move forward, while you're trying to face and make change. You know, all of us doing things differently from the others. Just know that you are special. And while you're having your special experience, don't forget that God loves you, okay? So, Thank you so much for joining us here at Indigo Moon. It has been a wonderful experience. Please enjoy your day, and thank you.